Hello, everyone. Welcome. I hope you're all having a great evening. Thank you for coming to our fifth program, Further Than a Classroom, or Mahaya del Salón, a program which brings the opportunity to future teachers to interview our active teachers with the purpose of sharing experiences and knowledge about how it is in the learning world. We, where we as future teachers aspire to be. My name is Alondra Crespo, a student in the pedagogy department in the program of elementary English, and with my partner, Rocío Hernández, we are going to interview the amazing educator, Cristina León.
Cristina León Perez was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico on December 21, 1984, but resided in Calle during her first 4 years of age before her parents moved to Newark, New Jersey, following the so-called American Dream. She then returned to her island with her family in October of 1993, not forgetting the great love and impact of one of her most valuable resources and dearest escapes, school. Hence her passion for reading and her respect for education. As expected, time flew by, and with it, her focus became clear. She wanted to pay forward what had once been her salvation, so she became a teacher. She graduated from the University of Puerto Rico Calle campus in 2009 with a BA in education on secondary English, and her teaching career began on that same year in the Instituto Tecnológico Guayama campus, teaching conversational English to post-secondary students. She continued over in Sidra, where she taught 7th through 8th grades for the first time ever, in the Segunda Unidad Pedro Diaz Fonseca, but then decided that she wanted to try high school and completed her next 3 years, 2012 to 2015, at her alma mater, Escuela Superior Miguel Meléndez Muñoz in Calle, where she began to thrive in her teaching career. Yet undergoing multiple economic struggles, many political uncertainties affecting teachers, and not knowing what was to come, she took a leap of faith in July of 2015 when she moved to Florida, USA. She is currently an entrepreneur and middle school language arts teacher certified by the Florida Department of Education on English grades 6 to 12, endorsed in world languages, Spanish, and in reading K to 12. Her teaching philosophy is focused on educating students success through the lens of constructivist and humanism, which has led the middle school to great success in her career, starting with being the first English teacher to implement the National Poetry Out Loud contest in her hometown, Calle, and bringing her to be chosen Teacher of the Year 2019 at Bill Duncan Opportunity Center for the Polk County School Board in Lakeland, Florida, where she teaches a challenging population. Her current position in this alternative school, behavior school, has broadened her knowledge of what it means to truly serve under harsh circumstances and has become a source of inspiration to continue to motivate and be an agent of positive and change in joy.
Okay, so hi, Miss Christina. I hope you're doing very well. The first question that we have for you is what were the biggest differences that you noticed teaching here in Puerto Rico, teaching here English in Puerto Rico, and teaching in the United States? Like any behavioral changes, any academic changes? What were the biggest things that you noticed?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing fine. I'm super excited to be here with you guys. And of course, definitely to give you my experience through my lens. I have to be clear to tell everybody that what I'm about to say is representing my experience from Puerto Rico when I taught from 2010 through 2015. And then I'm referring to Florida. So anything that I'm gonna say is specifically from that information, because different states have like their different qualifications or requirements, however you want to say it. So I just wanted to kind of like to point that out. What I'm saying is not like for the whole United States. It's going to be only for Florida. Okay. So you are asking me about differences between like major differences between teaching in Puerto Rico and then teaching in Florida. And I'm going to tell you, you might be surprised. When it comes to standard-based education, it was really not that different. So standards here in Florida are pretty much very, very similar to the ones that we used to teach with in Puerto Rico. Like literally, even the coding is very, very similar. Like it could be like for reading art, 0.2, 0.4. So it's really, really similar. The verbs are very similar, which is surprising because I am teaching to native speakers, most of them. I am teaching to native speakers. I do have a lot of immigrants too, but that's very common in Florida and in the United States as well, and as a whole. But this is what it is. Like, it was interesting to me because when I came here and I saw those standards, and I was like, wait a minute. So I've been teaching in Puerto Rico, like if they were native speakers, okay, through immersion, right? That's what we call immersion. So that was interesting. That we use the 4 language arts, which are listening, speaking, reading, writing, and that's exactly what we do here. Okay, so that there is that. I think that middle schoolers will be middle schoolers wherever they are. It doesn't matter if it's in Japan, anywhere. So that wasn't really different. Like, how are you going to wear a hoodie and it's 98 degrees outside? That kind of stuff. So when I saw that, I said, okay, Pedro Díaz Fonseca, I remember specific people that used to do that. And they're like, it's hot in here. Can you turn on the AC? And I'm like, well, you can also take off your hoodie. So a middle schooler is going to be a middle schooler anywhere. I really didn't see that much of a difference with the age situation or the age behavior. We still teach Edgar Allan Poe, The Telltale Heart, and Annabelle Lee. So that's really similar. Well, with differences, there was a cultural shock. Okay. So there was a cultural shock with little things because as you know and as you said, I used to live in New Jersey, so I kind of like knew a little bit of the vibe. But remember, I lived in New Jersey for only like 4 years, and I was like a little girl. It's different when you come as an adult. So there was a little bit of a cultural shock, and one of the things that that was a shock to me was like the way that sometimes there were like a lot of people refer to others like the tall black guy, or who's that, the Hispanic little girl. Like, we like labels, and we're not in Puerto Rico. We don't do that. Like, we're not like we don't do that. We don't describe. So that was a little different. Also, like the slangs, it was a little bit, I had to learn the slang language. Personalities, that's different. I mean, I am coming to a population that they're surrounded by so many different people, especially I live in Central Florida. So there's like different kinds, like, from everywhere. There's people from you're not in Puerto Rico, you're not used to having Haitian Creole with the Russian, and then all the African Americans, or just the natives. So as a teacher, I learned to adjust my ear to all these different accents. I learned to understand their jargon, the way they speak, their slang. So that was like a bit different when it comes to behavior. You have I work in a behavior school, so that's kind of like a little biased because I work at a behavior school, which would be a little different from regular schools. I don't know if you know what a behavior school is. Do you know what a behavior school is?
I'm not sure about it. You can explain if you want.
Yeah. So it's an alternative. We call it alternative school. It's an opportunity center. In Puerto Rico, we don't have these. I think there was one school. I think it was called Job Corps or something. So I receive my students are the students that they get in trouble in their regular schools for different reasons, like for fighting too much, or getting involved in drugs, or making threats. So they're not allowed to be in their regular school. They get moved and they go to my school. Okay, so it's challenging. Okay, it's challenging to deal with these situations, but that's pretty much it. Like I'm going to be talking later on a little bit about how exactly we can deal with that. So
Okay. Well, our second question, Rocío, can.
When taking the big leap that a lot of teachers take, what do you expect to encounter in schools in the U.S.? Did it meet your expectations?
did it meet my expectations?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, it met my expectation. I was really, like, I thought it would be I would have more resources, and I did. We do have more resources when it comes to, like, for example, in a regular classroom, you get your own computer. You get, like, you have classrooms are equipped with their projectors. Um, Everybody has, like, their own set of books. We're not missing any of that. So at least where I'm at. So that was basically I can print whatever. So that's pretty cool. It's much organized. When it comes to planning, I saw an immediate change, because, like, schools here are, like, huge. You have hundreds of students, and every subject has, like, their departments. They meet. So we have, like, all the 7th grade teachers meet and they plan together. All the 8th grade teachers meet. So in my case, I'm the only language arts teacher, middle school language arts teacher. But I used to go to other, how do you call it, meetings from the district, where I met other teachers, and it was, like, very simple. It also depends on the principal. So, like, for example, the principals have, like, a lot of authority when it comes to what they want the teachers to do, or what they want to see when they walk in for walkthroughs, for evaluations. So some principals might say, you know what, I just want the objectives, and I want to see them at the board, and I want to see just, like, the scaffolding with the lesson, and that's it. But other principals can ask for other things. So it was a little bit easier for the planning part for me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for much. I imagine that it may be easier, but at the same time, being a cultural change, it can be a lot harder in that way, since we're always used primarily with our materials. I think that we lack a lot of that here. And being able to go to the United States and being able to have that, I think it's a big change, and can also be, like, shocking to see how big that is, that difference is. With
Yeah.
our third question,
Wait, hold on. I
yeah,
want to say something about where here in Polk County. This is something really cool. They students, if they skip or if they're absent, there's an automatic call that goes out to the parents, so they can't skip, because parents are gonna know, and they hate it. They hate it, but I love it.
No,
Because
yeah.
it's not coming from the teacher, it's coming, like, automatically from the system. So if the teacher marks people absent, we got to be careful that we have to take attendance correctly. But that's something that I didn't see. I mean, in Puerto Rico we didn't have that, so it was like it is somewhat hard, but there are little details that, when it comes to organization, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay. So yeah, our third question would be, when I was in middle school, and in high school, I remember that there were a lot of students that had a lack of interest in the English class. So now, as a future teacher who's going to teach English, I wonder how we can make a class in a language not many people or not many students can understand interesting, and that people will actually be engaged in that class? What things would you recommend as a teacher who was a teacher here and now is a teacher there?
So with that question, when I was a student at the UPR, I had a professor, and there was a book that we studied. It's called Call Me Maria. I don't know if you know about it. I don't know if you still read it, but it's about a girl that used to live in Puerto Rico. She was undergoing a lot of, you know, the book.
I
You know
think
the
so. Yeah, I've heard of it.
Oh my God. Okay, so this is what I did. So, at the end of the story is about how she's an immigrant. She lives in New York. She only lives with her mom. There was a separation in the family, and it's the whole book. It's about her experience thriving, striving, and ultimately thriving as somebody who doesn't know the language, struggles with the language, struggles with the cultural shock and impact. And she, at the end of the book, there's a poem that I love that she wrote, and she made an analogy between pearls, and how the pearls in her necklace represent like a little part of English that she kept taking from where she was at. And she said in the poem, she said, I kept taking parts and bits and I kept making it my own. And now I wear my necklace with pride because like it's mine. She made it hers. So every first day of the year, every time school started, on the first day, I always started the class. I didn't read the things, but I always started the class telling my students, knowing English or learning English for one whole year is a privilege. Okay. So what you want to do with students in Puerto Rico, you have to make it relevant, and you have to do it anywhere. And I have to make it relevant right now. Like in every subject, we should make it relevant. So try to always make it to where, yes, you have the standard, but always use metacognition where they can connect to what you're saying. Okay. And how are they going to apply it? How would they apply it? Give them those strategies. This is where all the Kagan strategies come in, all the scaffolding comes in. You're going to have students with different levels of English. Like you're going to have fluent. You might have fluent speakers. You are going to have maybe students with basic knowledge. So even though you're going to be middle school and high school, you're going to see all of these things. So this is where the strategies kick in. Okay, you're going to be making sure that you use everything, sentence starters, the think, pair, share strategy, all of those cool stuff that we need to know. Be creative, use what you have, and try to just, as I said, just make it relevant, make it fun. And I think you're going to be fine. You're going to be, because that's really what happened. And if you keep putting that mindset, positive mindset, this is a privilege. This is an opportunity. And I remember that this came alive to me as a teacher after I left and I came here. I still had students. Right now, I have people on my Facebook that were my students that where do they live? In New York. And so I kept telling them, I said, you don't know where you're going to end up. You have to learn how to communicate, and having this opportunity with me, I'm going to guide you. I'm going to teach you. Just that's the mindset I put in their heads in the first day, because it was the truth.
Okay, yeah, it's something that I always, since I started studying, was a worry of mine. Because I was a student and I had a lot of friends that English, no thank you, I don't want to speak it, I don't want to learn it. And now that I want to be a teacher, I always think about, okay, how can I change that mindset so that students are actually interested in? So thank you so much for your advice.
Yay.
Okay, so the first question.
What are your biggest academic difficulties with students you have faced in the classroom? How can we prepare in case we have similar experiences?
Okay, so with academic difficulties, I can talk about, well, a lot of how do you deal with learning gaps? You're going to have a lot of students that are going to have, they're going to be at different reading levels. I have that right now. I have 7th graders that read at a 3rd grade level. What do you do with that? You have a standard you got to reach, right?
Mhm.
So when you have, as I said, these type of situations, you have to make sure that you use, this is where all of your strategies come into place. So my biggest advice with this is basically know who you serve. So we're in the service industry here, okay? So you can have a perfect lesson plan, and if you don't know what's going on in your classroom, what's your level of reading, what do you need, are you afraid of speaking? Oh, but you can read, like that kind of stuff. Like, you understand me, but you just don't want to talk, right? So you have to know who you're serving, okay? And you have to know who they are, because difficulties we're going to have, like, for example, I'm not only talking about like specific learning disabilities, right? We have our ADHD babies, our ADD babies, OCDs, and all our babies from the spectrum. So we're going to have all this beautiful variety of kids in our classrooms, and just basically, how do you teach somebody who not only has any of these things, but how do you teach a student that is dealing with depression? Like, how do you teach a student that is not thinking in English because they didn't eat last night because there's no food at home? How do you teach that a boy that's like the man of the house because dad is never there, mom is on pills? Or even harder situations, like, how do you teach a kid that doesn't want to live anymore? That you like, it's so difficult. So you're going to be getting, and this is maybe a little too rough, but this is the reality.
Yes,
this is what we're going to face. And it's not, you're going to be that safe haven, that safety haven. So you're not only there to teach. When you see these difficulties, just make sure that you make that contact with the kid, with your student, and just do the best you can to help them understand what do you want, right, from them, and what can they do for you, what can they do into the classroom. And I can mention different strategies, but I don't want to it's a lot of information. But when it comes to academic difficulties, this is what I wanted to say. Like, you need to make sure you know who you're serving, and once you know that, start pulling all that knowledge that you know, everything that you've learned from all the strategies. If you have to take a moment from the classroom to take the student to a side, okay, and talk to the student, that's what you're going to do. Obviously, you're going to deal with the class first because you don't want anything to stay out of control. But yes, you're going to learn. This is something you're going to learn as you go. Okay. I had sections in my classroom, and I actually did in Puerto Rico. I had like a little reading section. I purposefully sat certain kids in the first row based on their behavior. I sat them in specific areas. If I knew that a student couldn't sit and I didn't have a bouncy band to put on his chair or desk, I would sit him where he wouldn't be a distraction to the group, but I would let him stand as long as he's doing what I'm asking him to do. As long as we have to read. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. If somebody likes to talk, that's going to be the one who's going to read out loud. Like, learn who you have and use your strategies the best way you can. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I don't know, there are comments over there, but
yeah, I see that Dr. Lesbia Boras asked, Cristina, ¿qué palabras de motivación tienes para los futuros maestros de inglés de la UPR de Calle, tu alma mater?
¿Dónde está? ¿Qué palabras de motivación tienes para futuros maestros? Lo voy a decir en español entonces.
Sí, claro, no hay problema.
Miren, sí, no, definitivamente. Las palabras de motivación que les puedo dar es que estamos en un negocio, como dije, estamos en el servicio. Así que ustedes recuerden que van a estar en el servicio de todas estas personas que están llegando a su salón, que no solamente van a querer aprender inglés, necesitan, ¿verdad?, motivación en general.
Ujú.
Entonces, el idioma inglés siempre, siempre va a ser un privilegio, siempre es una necesidad también, tienen que verlo de esa manera y realmente decirle a los estudiantes, porque es la verdad, el idioma inglés es un idioma universal, es el idioma del dinero, es el idioma del negocio, a donde quiera que ustedes vayan en el mundo, está el idioma del lugar y el inglés. Así es que es bien importante lo que ellos tienen en las manos y lo que nosotros tenemos en las manos para darle a ellos.
Ujú.
Así es que, ¿verdad? Básicamente van a haber muchas vicisitudes, definitivamente, siempre va a haber vicisitudes, pero ser maestro es tan importante, es tan poderoso, es tan enriquecedor que honestamente yo estoy segura que toda persona que quiere ser maestro es porque ellos encontraron, como al igual que yo, que eso fue un recurso para poder seguir adelante, ¿verdad? Lo vieron como que yo quiero ayudar. A mí me ayudó la escuela, yo quiero ayudar. Y eso mismo es, tú puedes salvarle la vida a una persona. Tú puedes ser esa luz que toca a ese niño y sin darte cuenta, porque a veces nos ven a nosotros más que a sus padres, pasan más tiempo con nosotros que en cualquier otro lugar. Los tenemos, el fin de semana son 2 días. O si es un fin de semana algo, pues 3, whatever. Pero realmente pasan mucho tiempo con nosotros. Así que la forma en que nosotros podemos cambiar a esos niños y nosotros que somos de inglés, nos podemos, ¿verdad?, ir por el área de cómo ellos pueden sacarle provecho a eso. Hay muchas oportunidades que si eres bilingüe te pagan más, te puedes comunicar, o sea, el arte de poderte comunicar, ya sea en las redes, porque a veces ya no tienes ni que viajar. Ya puedes hacer contenido, si lo que les gusta es lo digital, hacer contenido en inglés, o sea, ya estás rompiendo barreras. Así que tenemos algo bien importante en nuestras manos que así mismo lo podemos proyectar. Así que no sé, tengo otras, ¿verdad? Tengo recomendaciones, pero no sé si eso como que para el final o porque
No,
tengo recomendaciones.
¿lo puedes?
Aquí, este libro nosotros lo estudiamos aquí, ¿verdad?
Ujú.
I don't know if you want me to code switch. Do you want me to code switch? Do
Okay,
you want me to
whichever
keep
you
going?
Como se le haga más,
Ah,
como se le haga más fácil explicarlo.
como sea, los dos idiomas, pero nada. Nosotros estudiamos esto aquí, nuestra certificación no es como en Puerto Rico, caduca cada 5 años y la forma en que podemos renovar tenemos que pagar por renovar, pero no solamente hay que pagar, hay que tener puntos por la educación continua. Así que estudiamos libros, cogemos cursos y entonces pues eso es lo que nos ayuda a mantener la licencia activa. Entonces esto es un libro que nosotros estudiamos, trabajamos con población difícil. Lost at School, y yo no sé si ustedes sabían que un niño que ha pasado por trauma, que son los que nos llega al salón, su mente, sus esquemas del cerebro son totalmente distintos a un niño que está sentado quizás al lado que nunca en su vida ha tenido ningún tipo de trauma. Piensan diferente, así que aprenden diferente. Así que estas son cosas que uno tiene que saber cuando uno está frente a un grupo de estudiantes y que son muy buenos. ¿Ok?
También tenemos aquí una pregunta de Yari Flores. How do you deal with how the political issues affect students, specifically people in the diversity?
And she's referring to my kids right now.
I think so, yes.
Okay, that is what I do is there are certain like laws that kind of like don't let me talk about certain things in the classroom. And she's talking about diversity groups. So I do talk about issues. I create a rapport and I create an environment of respect in my classroom. I don't care who is in there. And that is very important because you're going to have these conversations pop up because it's your life. It's what they're being affected. So in here in the United States, for example, something that is really delicate, interesting is when we talk about transgenders, when we talk about identity and all. So in Florida, right now there's a law that doesn't allow us to talk about that specifically. So we have to be careful with this, but these are the babies that we're getting. So what I do is I always create a classroom of rapport, of respect. I'm really stern because, again, I'm in a behavior school, so my kids don't get away with anything. They can't, because that's why they're there. They're bullies. They're sent to me, so I don't give them a chance to to start anything. I nip it in the bud. Political issues. I don't know if you can be more specific, because we have a lot. But the one that just came out of my mind right there and then was, about the law that the governor, what he came up with. Also, when we had Trump, also, and all the border issues, I have migrant students. I have students that their parents work here. They're with a visa. I have students that their parents don't even go out because they're afraid to be caught. I actually have students that, if they get in trouble and we call, they're afraid of picking up the phone because they don't want to get caught, or all that good stuff. But as I said, I deal with it with respect. If I have to pull a student to the side and talk to them and let them vent about whatever they feel, that's what I do. That's exactly what, because it's really interesting. Remember, and I do middle school too, so they're still young.
Yeah.
I try to deal with it as best as I can. I do bring them the facts, but when there are different points of views in the classroom, because they project what their parents teach them too. So I have a lot of look, I have a lot of racist kids too, but they know, and this is important. We don't see that much in Puerto Rico, but we see a lot here. So I nip it in the bud. We talk about respect. I always bring it to the facts if I have to say something. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, unless you have a specific issue, I can maybe elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, if Jari wants to elaborate on that, we can also ask you later. Ariana Marie asked, "Hi, Cristina. How is your classroom setting right now?"
Okay, so right now I am. We're doing technology based, but when I was able to teach like in a regular setting, I had 2 sections. I had like regular, rows basically, but it changed because I changed my classroom environment. So sometimes we have groups of 4 when we do like think, pair, share, or we're doing project based. Again, I never leave out behavior strategies. So I have that was very successful when I had that section. I had like a cool down chair at the back of the classroom, where actually, if you look at that year I won Teacher of the Year, they had a little video. They made a little video and they recorded my classroom. So you can, and somebody explained it too, like how it was set up. But yeah, I had like that little section. I had a section where students would, go. I would send them, okay, you're too sleepy. Go and stand up for 1 minute, and I would put the timer. So that's basically kind of like the classroom setting that I used to have. Most of the time, it was in pairs or groups of 4, or so it depended on what part of the lesson I was on. Like we do gradual release. So it's, the I do, we do, you do. So obviously my classroom represented that part of the class.
Okay, so thank you for sharing that. I really like the fact that we had different settings in the classroom where the students could actually stand up and do different things. With our next question, Rocío, if you would like to ask it.
Yeah. How was your experience connecting with students in another country?
That was interesting. It was interesting because I was young. a young Hispanic woman in the middle of, Native Americans trying to, Native speakers, let me say that, Native speakers trying to teach English. And, well, sometimes when I was starting to get used to like their jargon, there were times that I really didn't understand the word. Like, for example, finna. I didn't understand what that meant, so I felt a little out of place. And then I even had a student that got a little upset. She was like, "Why do you know that word?" I said, "Well, I just came to Lakeland. I don't know. I'm getting used to all this." So it was a little, it was interesting. It's amazing. It's a little, it was a little bumpy at the beginning, but I think it's amazing to have the opportunity to speak to students and teach students that are like Haitian Creole. I had a Russian student, and I think something that's really touched me is always the migrant students that have migrant parents. A lot of them are born in the United States, but their parents aren't. So having that connection with these kinds of families really kind of like opened up my vision of, you know what, I have a purpose here. Like, I can help them. They understand me. We talk Spanish, so we can connect a little bit more, and I can really help not only them but the parents. So I think that was one of the most important things that I enjoy, actually.
Well, so thank you very much for sharing that. A quick recap about this interview that we gave today. We talked with Mrs. Leon about how her experience was coming from Puerto Rico to the United States, and how teaching in a behavioral school can be very different from teaching here in Puerto Rico, and its ups and downs basically, and everything that implies being a teacher, being an English teacher, and being someone, a safety haven, as you say, and a place where there's a lot of beautiful diversity in the United States, such as here in Puerto Rico. So, si continuamos entonces con el cierre.
Yeah. Before ending tonight's interview, I want to take the opportunity to thank our dearest professor, Dr. Clary Enid, for giving us a space where we can express ourselves and share knowledge. We're extremely grateful to Ms. Leon, who took the time to talk to future teachers like us and share her experience to help us be better prepared.
Yeah, so before we go, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you considering me to help you, to guide you, to give you my perspective. There's so much more I would want to share later on. But I just want to leave you with like these two thoughts, or well, one thought and one recommendation of a book. So you're gonna have homeroom. You're gonna have homeroom time, or I don't know how, if you still like in Puerto Rico, like you have to share like this time with your kids. So I strongly recommend this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. So this is something that you can share and you can read and kind of like do it for fun, and also this is going to help them kind of like to get organized as a person. So it's in English, but obviously you're an English teacher, so it's not only helping them. Obviously you can translate certain parts just to help them out with it, but this is a really good book that you can help them. You can help sharing with them. There's another book that helped me tremendously, and I don't know if Professor Aníbal Muñoz is gonna watch this, but as an English teacher, that was life-changing for me times. And it's a collection of short stories, but they're all based on Puerto Rican experiences. So that book right there was completely life-changing when it came to relevance, bringing relevance to the students, because there are certain words that it's the stories have a list of vocabulary words and questions, and there are some words like the dialogue sometimes is in Spanish, and that kind of like, if there's a student that's afraid or doesn't like to read English or whatever, they're gonna love it, because that kind of like brings that fear down. So that's amazing. And the last thing I want to say is, guys, enjoy it. enjoy the little details, okay? It's gonna feel a little overwhelming because we have a lot of responsibility. It's huge, but it's beautiful. So you might not have a perfect day, but enjoy the little things that are going to happen in your classroom, because there you will have beautiful days. You will have days that you're gonna feel like, what is going on? What did I do? What's going on? So just enjoy the little things, okay? And then obviously, as you go and you get more experience, it's gonna be easier, guys. It's gonna get easier because you have more control of what you're doing, of what you're saying, and it's gonna be great, okay?
Thank you so much. I just want to add before we end it all that Dr. Lesbia told Cristina at the UPR Calle, we're very proud of you. Keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you so much. Like this I'm telling you, I came super prepared with my professors at the UPR. I'm so grateful. Oh my God, I don't want to cry. I'm so grateful because I went through everything. I feel like I was super prepared for, within my expertise. The support was always there. And I just really, I love the UPR, UPR Calle. Siempre los profesores siempre estuvieron ahí. Yo fui una madre joven, así que yo logré mi bachillerato con 2 bebés. Y yo todo lo que yo aprendí se puso en práctica y el apoyo fue espectacular. Es una universidad especial, es una universidad que te va a dar todas las herramientas para que ustedes puedan lograr ese bachillerato, lograr pasar esos PSEMA. Es espectacular la universidad, así que yo les agradezco porque lo que yo soy hoy viene de ahí, ¿ok? Así que sí, mi experiencia, sí, todo va, ¿verdad?, añadiendo a mi desempeño, pero vino de ahí, así que estoy muy agradecida.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Gracias a ustedes, estoy a la orden. You're welcome, guys. It's a privilege. Thank you so much.